Megan, and I'm your senior home coach. And today we are going to meet Tammy Gross, and she works for Olmsted County. She's going to tell us a little bit about what she does and what she's going to talk about.
Thanks, Lori. So my name is Tammy, and I am the lead investigator for the Adult Protection Unit for Olmsted County Social Services. There are four individuals who are assessors, investigators in my unit, along with Detective McCormick, who is from the Sheriff's Department. So squad of five. And we do all of the financial exploitation cases in Olmsted County. Financial exploitation, you may say, what does that entail? So financial exploitation is meaning that somebody has a fiduciary role and that they are using that person's money for their own benefit and not for the other person's benefit. All of our reports that come to adult protection come through a state reporting system known as the Minnesota Adult Abuse Reporting Center. They're called MARC reports for short. And in order for Olmsted County to respond to any type of an allegation of abuse, we have to be able to have one of those reports from the state. So it's really important that people make reports if they believe that somebody is being abused, neglected, or financially exploited. In order for Olmsted County Adult Protection to be involved, we work specifically with individuals who meet the statutory criteria of being what's considered a vulnerable adult. That means over the age of 18, having a cognitive or physical disability of some sort. And because of that cognitive or physical disability, that they're unable to protect themselves from being maltreated, either financially, physically, emotionally, or sexually, and that they are unable to report that abuse themselves. So those reports come to us, and right now we are seeing probably the highest level of reports for financial exploitation. Again, financial exploitation means that somebody either has the fiduciary responsibility or not the fiduciary responsibility. So either they have their powers of attorney for an individual, or they are just stealing from individuals. The other major one that we have that we're going to talk a little bit about today are scams. So scams come into us as a financial exploitation because they are seen as using the person's, like using undue influence to have somebody spend their life savings on a scam. And so those are considered financial exploitation. Part of our role is to determine, is that person a vulnerable adult during the time that they're being exploited? So guesstimates would be that we open up a lot of those scam calls. One, because a lot of those calls are being reported via banks or financial institutions because they're the ones that are seeing the money going out.
Mm.
And those institutions don't know if the person meets the requirement to be a vulnerable adult or not. So they err on the side of making that report. Probably receive at least one report a day from reports of someone being scammed out of their finances. Our normal protocol is we first of all need to determine whether or not that person is a vulnerable adult, and then whether or not it meets the guidelines for maltreatment. If we don't know this person and they've not been in our system before, or we don't have enough information, we will err on the side of opening up those reports and going out and visiting with the individuals.
Mm.
Typically, the individuals who are making those reports don't have a lot of other knowledge because vulnerability and VA status is different in every state. So if you're working with large financial institutions, they don't know the difference between what Minnesota sees as a vulnerable adult and Wisconsin sees and Iowa sees. They just report. That's the way it works. If we don't think that there's a financial loss, like sometimes we'll get reports of scams that somebody has attempted to wire transfer $45,000 to somebody else and the bank has stopped that wire transfer and there's no loss to the victim. We will just make a phone call to that victim and kind of talk with them about how did this start? What led you to believe that you needed to send $45,000 to an end game that you don't know who that person is? And so we kind of talk through those individuals that have lost some money or who are still actively sending money. We will go out and visit with. And I'll tell you, most of the time people know more, and we say that we're from adult protection. They're like, wait, I know why you're here. Or, yep, the police have been here already and have talked with me about it, but I know that I'm going to be getting money. So you come on in and they're usually very gracious to us. It's we really don't have any control over them. We just want to make sure that they're doing this on their own and that somebody isn't taking that money from them, right?
Hmm.
To convince somebody who is being scammed that they aren't being scammed is it's a head banging kind of a thing. Like, you can go and you can say, does this make sense that this would happen? Does it make sense that this movie star who you've never met pulled you into this side room to talk and thought that you were such a nice person and you've been such a great individual that they're going to send you money and they're going to give you this $50,000 and it's going to come by FedEx. And now FedEx broke down and now you have to send them gift cards to fix the tires. That wouldn't normally be something that would happen.
Hmm.
Sometimes before people they just get caught up, right? Scams is all about people being emotional, people being pressured and in sense of urgency that something is happening. So it doesn't give the person a time to stop and reflect and say, is that really something that I should normally be doing? Should I be going and buying thousands of dollars of gift cards and sending them someplace? Scratching off the backs and taking pictures and thinking that that's a faster way that I'm going to get money
Hmm.
from who knows what entity along the way. So even when I think I'm getting through to people and I leave there and they are like, I am not going to give that person another dime. I call them back in a week and they're out another $5,000 to $6,000 because they just want to do it. And part of it is truly, I think they're just lonely. We,
Hmm.
I, the number one scam I think we have going right now is the romance scam. People, and these romance scams are not like quick turnarounds. They are long play games. We've had one individual who thought she was dating somebody who was on an oil rig down in Texas, talking to him, the nicest man ever. And he was in his 50s and she was in her 70s. And he would call 3 or 4 times a day and they would chat. And then that went on for 5 or 6 months. And then all of a
Oh.
sudden, he got stuck on this oil rig and couldn't get off to get the money that he needed for something. And if she could just send him some money, so she sent him a little bit of money and then it just kind of escalated from there. And Detective McCormick and myself went out there and she's like, he's just the love of my life. And he treats me so well. And I just needed to do this for him. And he's going to be leaving that rig and he's going to be coming here and being with me and I'll get it back and he's going to send it back and all of this stuff. So she showed us the picture of this gentleman, a very handsome man.
Of course.
You know? And so Detective McCormick said, can I take a picture of the picture that you have of this gentleman? And she was like, well, sure. And so we took a picture and we put it in the Google images and it pulled his exact picture up with a different name that just came from an image stock someplace and showed it to her. And she was like, oh my gosh, he's been lying to me. And we found several different pictures that she had sent. And so she knew it wasn't the real guy anymore. And she's like, well, I'm just going to continue to talk to him and let him know police have been here and I'm on to him and he's not getting any more money from me. And we're like, fantastic. Maybe you shouldn't even answer the phone, delete the phone number. Don't do that, right? And she's like, oh, I'm good. And she's a very smart and educated woman. She has her degrees and is retired. And so this woman called me back a few weeks later and I was like, hey, I was just thinking about you. How are things going? And she's like, well, I was calling you because I can't pay my rent this month.
Oh.
Wondering if you knew of anything that could help and I'm like, you didn't. She's like, yeah, I thought I had enough money to cover, but I gave them too much money. I'm like, really?
Oh.
At this discussion? And, so it's just they get so caught up in
Mm-hmm.
this that they kind of forget about taking care of themselves. And there's always that little, I don't want to say it's like a little voice, but it's like something that says, what if this might be true? What if
Mm-hmm.
he really is real and I have found the man of my dreams? Or I did win the lottery and I am going to have this $50,000 that's going to show up at my door. Or it's always that little question that's in there. Like, if I don't keep going, I'll never know. Right. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a mystery for people. It's a little bit of an excitement for people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it again goes to, I think, people need to continue to be social, get out there, be among people, tell the stories of, you know what, I got scammed. And there's not a way to get that back. Um, so, one, if people are asking you for money, especially sending them by gift cards, just don't do it. Um, there's actually been a couple of the stores in town that have put limits on the amount of gift cards that people can buy.
Oh,
I
that's
actually,
good. For that
yeah,
reason?
yeah, for that exact reason. Um, but you've got how many tellers that are in these lines. So my one gal, she just went out and put on a different jacket and came back in again and went into a different line and just kept buying them, going circular around.
If I saw a vulnerable being taken advantage of, how would I contact your department?
So you wouldn't contact me directly. You would need to call up to the state. So the state number, and I don't know if you guys can put this in the little blurb, but for reporting to the state, the Minnesota Adult Abuse Reporting Center, the number is 844-880-1574. And they'll walk you through you have to have the basic information. We have to be able to locate the people. So you'll need to know the vulnerable adult's name and address, a phone number if possible, but not not a must. And what the nature of that maltreatment is. Is it financial exploitation? Do you believe that they're being scammed? Do you know how much or how often this has been occurring? The dollar amount. We are going to start tracking how many reports we get and the dollar amounts
Mm.
of those, because it's got to be a lot. And we just haven't had the resources to do that in the past, and we're going to just start trying to attempt to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate all of this knowledge that you've shared with us. Thank you so much, Tammy. And this is Lori Mangan again, Senior Home Coach, and signing off.